the ultimate DIY mini split installation guide. I'm going to make this so easy for you, and it will literally save you thousands of dollars. This heat pump is from Ductless. They were kind enough to send it out to me. All right, let's get this mini split unboxed. Obviously, we have the main condensing unit. My particular unit came as 115 volt. This uses R32 refrigerant. It comes with a 3/8 line set here, and then a 1/4 inch line set. We have some documentation, this little trim ring, drain hose, remote, batteries, neoprene hole filler, some nylon tape that is not sticky, mounting hardware. We have the mounting bracket for the indoor unit. We have a length of communication wire to go between the outdoor unit and the indoor unit. And then we also have a short length of power cable. There's the indoor head. And last but not least is the mounting template. By the way, on this air conditioner, there was a little dent here of shipping damage. That's pretty much cosmetic. That's not going to hurt anything. Then this template has this outside line that is supposed to line up with the outside of the unit. And you can see I'm on it right here on the far left side, right here on the bottom. But if you come over here to the far right side, notice that we are a substantial gap there, probably pretty close to a 1/2 inch space. Not lining up with that, so be sure and take note of that. The height is pretty darn good. It's pretty much spot on. It's just the overall width that is a little short. So the way I'm going to fix that is I'm just going to make a new line right here with a pencil. That way I know where it ends. Step 1 in the installation is to go ahead and get the indoor unit mounted. I got to go above this door because I'm compressed for space. In the manual it says you want almost 6 inches of clearance between the ceiling and the top of the unit. I'm going to have a little less than that. Okay, there's the bracket all installed. I did hit one stud over on this side, and then you can see here I've drilled a hole with a long bit all the way through the walls. So this is upside down. This is the top, and I'm wanting to go out through that little hole right there. Well, if you imagine this flipped up, currently the drain in particular is coming out the right side. The refrigerant pipes, there's no way to move it, but the drain we can actually move. So I don't know if you can see, there's a little silver thing right in there. We've just got to stick like a long screwdriver or something in there and twist it. That will release the drain line. And if we come over here to this side, you can see there's a little black plug right here that I can pull out. So I can actually relocate the drain to this side. And just like that, the drain hose is on the other side. And I put the plug in over on this side. We're going to kind of angle the drill down just ever so slightly, so that way we get good drainage out of that. I think that came out really, really nice. Got the drain sloping down, comes over here. I have a little excess cable. I'm still going to decide what to do with that, but it comes out. And then the line height did not come with the mini split, so I had to get that, but I'll leave a link for it down in the description. Very easy to get. It really makes it clean and nice, I think. We've got the outdoor unit set, and now I'm going to show you how I flare and connect refrigerant pipes. Doing this is actually a whole lot easier than a lot of people think it is. So first, we're just going to kind of measure how long the pipe needs to be. We'll take these tubing cutters. We'll go ahead and cut the tube, just like that. So now with it facing down, I'm going to take this deburring tool, and I'm just going to deburr the inside of that pipe. Then I'm going to take my flaring tool. So I almost missed it. Some of you are probably screaming at me. We've got to put our flare nut on this. All right, take 2. There we go. All right, so now we slide that into place, lock it down. And then one of the reasons I like this flaring tool so much is it has a clutch built in. So when it's done flaring, this is going to spin freely and I won't overdo it. See, like that? See, the handle turns, but it won't go in any further. So that means that it's done. So we'll back it out here, loosen this up. I don't know if you'll be able to see, but that is just a beautiful flare. Nice and smooth on the inside and completely fills the flare nut. So next, the internet is divided about how to do this. I'm going to take some of this nylog stuff, and some people put it, on the thread. Some people put it, on the back of the flare seal. I personally just like to put on the mating surface because that's where the seal is going to happen. And then I don't mess up my torque values putting it on the threads or the back of my flare. And now I'm going to simply mate it up visually like that. And then I will just thread the nut on by hand as far as it will go. Then in the included instruction manual with the mini split, it gives us torque values. So we're doing the 1/4 inch line, so 15 to 25 Newton meters. I highly, highly recommend getting a torque wrench, digital torque wrench like this. It makes it so easy. I like to go on the low side at first, just so that if I need to tighten it later for a leak or whatever, I have a little more to go before I exceed the torque value. So now we'll just simply torque this nut, just like that. So let's repeat that same process on the 3/8 line. All right, you guys, our next step is to vacuum the system down. Now, I am a licensed HVAC technician. I don't practice it, but I've got a lot of all the special tools and stuff like that. You don't need a vacuum pump as fancy as this one. I just happen to have one like this. You can get a pretty cheap set off Amazon that I'll leave a link for down in the description. We need to get all of the non-condensables, which is basically water, out of the system. By putting this into a vacuum, it actually lowers the boiling point of water so that it actually boils at ambient air temperature. The water vaporizes and then gets sucked out by the vacuum pump. And so that's how we completely dry the system and eliminate it from non-condensables prior to releasing the refrigerant. And I'm going to show you the easiest way to do this well and right, okay? So there's this little service port right here. If you look inside, there's a little, what's called a Schrader core. It's like what you have in your car tire or your bike tire that, is where you fill the tire up with air. We have the same thing here on the mini split. Technically, you can vacuum the system down with that unit in, but if you leave it in, there's just a tiny, tiny hole and it takes forever to vacuum the system down through it. So I actually like to remove the Schrader core. So you can get the Schrader core removal tools. They actually allow you to change the Schrader core while the system is under pressure. Right now the system is not under pressure. I will just stick this tool in that's designed to remove the Schrader core, and looky there, I pulled it out. So we are going to set that aside somewhere safe so we don't lose it. And now this port is fully open and it's going to significantly speed up our vacuum process. So let me show you the ultimate setup here. Get you one of these valve core removal tools. This is specifically for mini split units because they have a special size set of threads here that only this screws onto. So we're going to screw this on like that, okay? Next, on this end right here, I'm going to hook up the hose that goes to the vacuum pump, just like that. I'll go ahead and close this valve for a minute. There's a little valve down here. I'm going to close it for a minute. Now I'm going to open this port up right here. There is another valve core in there. So I'm actually going to take another valve core removal tool here, and I'm going to remove that core. So next I'm going to take this other core tool, and I'm actually going to screw it on to that service port. So we have two valve core removal tools, one here and another one attached to it. This allows us to valve things off. You'll see why that's important here momentarily, okay? Then on this open port right here, I'm going to put this micron gauge on there. And there's the whole setup. This valve is still closed, which is fine. We're going to power on the vacuum pump. I have the ballast open at the moment. And we'll go ahead and open this valve. And you can hear the tone of the vacuum pump change. On the micron gauge, you can see our micron level dropping and dropping really fast. That's the power of taking out that valve core. It's gonna drop our vacuum insanely fast. It also helps that this is a huge vacuum pump. So we are below 500 now. So I'm gonna go ahead and close the ballast. And that's gonna allow this to process the stuff through the oil and suck our vacuum down even further. Already in the 300s and dropping. Now what I can do is I can valve this off and you'll see it jump up. See that? That means there's more condensables boiling off. There's not a ton, but we need that to stay below 500 when I valve that off. So we gotta let this run for a minute. All right, you guys, look at that. We're clear down to 135 microns. So we'll go ahead and valve this off. Then we're gonna go ahead and turn the vacuum pump off, and we're going to let this sit, and we'll see how much it rises in 5 minutes. It should be pretty darn good, because it would not get down to the 100-ish micron level if there was any kind of leak or anything like that. So anyway, we'll let it sit, and we'll see how that goes. Let me show you the wiring here. So I've got black going to line, white going to neutral, ground going to the ground screw back here. Red is just taped off and moved over here, so we're not going to use it. And then you match 1, 2, 3 to what you did on the indoor unit. So hopefully you took a picture or something. A few minutes later here, you guys, you can see that we are well below our 500 micron level still in decay. There's a teeny bit of rise going on, and that's because either here or here has a slight leak. I've discovered that. I think I need a new fitting for my micron gauge. But anyway, if this had a leak, this would not be holding, under 500 microns and rising this slowly. The reason I know I have a leak right here is if I move this, did you see how it jumps? So you can see that there's something right in here that just doesn't quite seal right. And anyway, I know it's an issue out here, not in the refrigerant tubing. So I think we're good to go. So pay attention. I have valved this off right here, okay? That way I don't get refrigerant in my micron gauge. And then I've also valved this one off still that isolates from the vacuum. Now I'm going to take this Allen key and I'm just going to open the valve here for the refrigerant for just a second. All right, just like that. Not much, just enough to get positive pressure in the system, but I don't want full pressure yet. So remember how I took the Schrader core out right here? I need to put that back in. You never want to try to put it back in while the system's in a vacuum because it's too easy to get non-condensables sucked back in. In fact, it's almost guaranteed. But if it's in positive pressure, now we've got pressure pushing out against the atmosphere, so we are not going to get any kind of non-condensables sucked in. So with this valve still off, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the vacuum hose. We don't need that anymore. Now I'm going to take my Schrader core, kind of see it there on the end of the tool. I'm going to slide this up, insert the Schrader core into this, screw it on. I can now open this valve right here. We have positive pressure in the system, just not tons yet. And now I can push this in. Can you see how there's pressure? See how that's pushing me out? So I know that I have positive pressure. So I'm going to put this Schrader core in. I'm going to twist it while applying pressure. And that's going to allow me to screw the Schrader core back into place, just like that, while the system's under pressure. It's a very cool tool. Now I'm going to close this valve. I'm going to open this up. There might be a little spurt of pressure, but not too much. All right, now I'm going to make sure that that valve core is seated correctly. So I'm just going to crack this open, and we're going to make sure that there's no release of pressure. And there's not. So I fully opened it, and we don't have stuff shooting out of here. So we are in good shape. So now I can disconnect this whole apparatus right here. I'm going to go ahead and release the rest of the charge into the line sets. Just back this out until it stops. And we'll do the same thing on this top one here. Just back it out till it stops. And now we're going to do an initial leak search. First, I would highly recommend putting these caps back on so you don't lose them. We're going to do this one here momentarily. All right, you guys. Now again, I am an HVAC technician, so I've got all the fancy tools. I'll show you the poor man's way of doing this, but first, for our first check, I'm just going to use this refrigerant leak detector, and I'm just going to sniff my connection points here. And you may recall I purposefully left this away from the wall so that I can sniff up underneath there, but I need two hands. So the poor man's way of checking for leaks is with soap bubbles. Now I would highly recommend, this stuff is not expensive, but this is special formula stuff that makes it super easy to see any kind of micro leaks, and it's non-corrosive or anything for your connections. A nice even stream on these connection points. We want to minimize creating bubbles ourselves, so that way we can see any bubbles that come from the refrigerant leaking out. And the awesome thing about this micro leak detector is you'll get kind of a buildup of bubbles if you even have a micro leak. And so it's incredibly easy to spot any kind of leak if you have one. And the good news is everything seems to be very solid. I'm going to check again when we're testing this unit in heat mode, because that's when it operates at a higher pressure. And if we're going to find a leak, that's when we'll find it. You can see that the unit comes pre-charged for 3 to 5 meters of refrigerant piping. I have 22 feet, which is 6.7 meters. So I need to add a little bit of refrigerant to this, which I can do because I'm EPA 608 certified, but it's easiest to add refrigerant when it's in cooling mode. So let's get this powered on. It's blowing out tons of cold air. And here's the outdoor unit running, but let's add some refrigerant. Basically, all I need to do is add 1 ounce. All right, we're all connected up here. So I've got this blue hose coming up here to my gauge set. And I've got my refrigerant hose coming over here. And we've got some new R32 which is what this unit uses. And calculated, I need just a teeny bit more than an ounce. Good news is we can actually charge R32 as a vapor instead of a liquid, so that'll make it a little easier. So first, let me bleed the air out of the line. So we'll just loosen this ever so slightly. There we go. So now we're purged on that. Let's go ahead and purge our refrigerant hose. Very good. I'll go ahead and open up the refrigerant line here. This valve is closed. Then I've zeroed out the scale here. So now we're just going to meter in a little bit of refrigerant until we put in approximately 1 ounce. 0.5, 0.75, there's 1 ounce. Alrighty, you guys, let's test our temperature split. So currently, our return air temperature, not crazy hot, 67-ish degrees. And there might be a little bit of air getting pushed back up in because I'm standing in front of this, diverting air, but let's call it 67. Look at that, supply air temperature. We're in the supply here, 35 degrees. So we've got close to a 30-degree temperature split, which is a little on the extreme side. However, I need to test it when it's actually hot because it's not hot in here. Obviously, it's 60-something degrees, and outside is 60-something degrees as well. So we don't have very much of a load for it right now, but it's definitely cooling. Okay, it is cranking in heat mode. So once again, I think I'm skewing the temperature a little bit because I think it's rolling up off of me. It was 78 a second ago. Now it says 80, 79. Anyway, I think the heat is hitting me and rolling up to the ceiling. But toasty, 79 up at the air intake. Check that out, 143 degrees, 144. Okay, so now that we're in heating mode, I'm just gonna come through and spray these connections one more time, because if we're gonna have a leak, and it will be obvious now is the time, because we've got a lot of high pressure in the system now. I don't think we have any leaks. So the final thing I'm going to do is finish wrapping this vinyl tape. I started here, but I'm going to wrap the rest of these lines as best I can, just because this insulation really gets degraded by sunlight. Okay, it's all wrapped and finished. I'm going to put a link to a video down in the description showing you why I have this pigtail right here that just has a 120 volt plug on it. And in that video, I'm going to show you how I actually run this mini split off of solar and how easy it is to literally get free heating and air conditioning from the power of the sun. So be sure and check that out. I'll have links to Oilless down in the description for you to check out, as well as links to all of the different tools and other videos I referenced. I'll also have links down there where you can ask a guaranteed to be answered question by me, as well as book a one-on-one video consultation. So take advantage of those opportunities. We've always got more epic stuff in the pipeline, so stay tuned for more. I'm on a quest for you, and that is to find things that will hopefully significantly improve the quality of your life, as well as hopefully save you tons of money in the process. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hype if that's the kind of information you enjoy. All of you stay safe, and we'll catch y'all next time.